How much protein do you need to eat on a day-to-day basis? When should you eat that protein? Are all proteins created equal? Are animal proteins the same as plant proteins? How do you eat protein to optimize your recovery from hard training sessions? There's a lot when it comes to protein, and maybe you're feeling a bit confused about protein as a nutrient and how you use it on a day-to-day basis, and also to fuel your energy optimization and your training, racing and recovery potential. So if that's you, stick with me because I've got just a video for you. My name is MJ and I'm the founder of Planted Nutrition. We're an energy optimization nutrition specialist, and we help people get clarity, confidence and consistency when it comes to food and lifestyle choices so that they can boost energy abundance, smash their training, racing and recovery potential, all through the power of nutrition. And today's video is all about protein. What is protein? How do you use it? When should you eat it? Are all proteins created equal? What's the difference between animal and plant protein? And I'm going to take you on a bit of a journey to learn about this really amazing, really important nutrient so that you know how to use it to really smash your lifetime goals. And today's video is all about protein. What is it? When should you eat it? Are all proteins created equal? What's the difference between animal and plant protein? And how do you really use this really important nutrient to optimize your energy capabilities, but also your training and racing potential? So first of all, what is protein? Well, protein is what we call a macronutrient. It's one of 3 macronutrients that are vital for human health alongside carbohydrates and fats. And protein is made from what we call amino acids. So individual molecules called amino acids, which are clubbed together in various combinations and complexities, and when they're clubbed together in those various combinations they make up what we call proteins. And did you know that there are 10 to 50,000 different types of proteins inside the human body, which just gives you a sense of the scale and importance of protein in overall human health. And I'll talk a bit more in a minute about all of the things that protein's involved with to give you a sense of how important protein is when it comes to energy abundance, but generally overall human health. So amino acids that make protein come from 2 places. First of all, the body can actually make amino acids, make proteins itself. So inside the nucleus of every single cell inside the human body, your DNA will profile for specific amino acids, which can then be clubbed together in this really complicated process to make individual proteins of varying types and complexity. And then we also have proteins that we get from diet. So proteins that we get from diet, when the body digests them and breaks the protein down, breaks them down into their individual amino acids, which can then be put back together by the body to make other proteins. And this is really important because proteins that we get from diet contain the 9 essential amino acids, and what that means is the human body is unable to make those amino acids, and therefore it's critical that we get them from the food that we eat. So 10 to 50,000 different types of proteins inside the human body. What does it get involved with? Well, most people know that protein is involved in muscle recovery and repair, but did you also know that protein is involved in muscle contraction and relaxation as well? And alongside that, protein is also involved in all tendons and ligaments and synovial fluid, the stuff that surrounds the joints and the ligaments and the tendons, because connective tissue is made of protein. We also have connective tissue inside our gut lining, our blood vessels, and many other cavities and parts of the human body. So protein plays a massive role when it comes to all of those things. Then we have some of the molecular side of things. So you have enzymes that are catalysts for chemical reactions inside the body. Hormones, many hormones are made of proteins, and some of the ones to call out from an energy optimization are hunger and our satiation hormones. So insulin and ghrelin are 2 hormones involved in hunger signals, and they're also made of protein, and many other hormones as well. Then we have the immune system. A lot of the immune molecules that help us fight bacteria and viruses and infections are made of proteins. And the list just goes on and on and on. And the other thing I just want to point out in terms of how important protein is energy stability. So what we often say to people when we work on energy optimization is make sure that you have protein with every meal, and a 20 to 40 gram portion of protein. And that's because when you eat protein, it takes slightly longer to digest than carbohydrates, and actually will slow the rate of digestion of carbohydrates, which means that you have less of an energy spike when you eat the carbohydrate if you're eating it alongside a protein. So really important to help manage your energy levels throughout the day as well, and that's why we also put a lot of emphasis on protein in the diet. So let's talk a little bit about plant protein versus animal protein, because this is a subject of hot debate, and I'm not going to tell you which one is right and which one is wrong, because there is no right and wrong. But what I want to do is give you a quick rundown of the differences between plant protein and animal protein so that you've got all the information you need when you make your protein choices. So first up, let's look at plant protein. So plant proteins are 70 to 90% digestible. They tend to be higher in carbohydrates and lower in fat. And most proteins that are from plant sources are not complete protein sources. And what that means is they do not usually contain all of the essential amino acids that your body needs. There are some exceptions to that, such as soybean and quinoa, but generally speaking, plant proteins do not contain all of the essential amino acids. They're usually missing one or two. And most plant proteins are highly nutritious. So the way you get around the plant proteins not having all the essential amino acids is you eat a variety of plant protein sources across the day. And what that means is across the day, you will actually obtain all of the essential amino acids that you need. So despite a lot of the bro myths out there, you do not need to eat animal protein sources to get all of the protein that you need. You can get them from plant protein. And where can you get plant protein? Well, things like tofu, soy-based foods, tofu, tempeh. Hemp seeds are also a really amazing source of plant protein. Quinoa is a complete protein of plant origin, really healthy for you. And then you have things like your beans and your pulses, like lentils and chickpeas. And then we have animal proteins. So for animal proteins, they do tend to contain more protein per 100 grams net weight. Animal proteins are a complete protein source in all cases, and animal proteins tend to be lower in carbohydrate and higher in fat. One of the benefits of animal proteins, however, is the digestibility of that protein. How much your body can digest and absorb is slightly higher, anywhere up to around about 95%. And providing that you get your animal proteins from a reputable source, so organic, grass-fed, from a local farm, rather than those industrially produced animal proteins that you find in the supermarkets, most animal proteins are highly nutritious and they don't come with all of those nasties that you tend to get in industrially produced foods. And what are good sources of animal proteins? Well, all lean cut of meat, things like eggs and fish as well, all fantastic sources of animal protein. So let's talk a bit about when you should eat your protein. Well, first and foremost, what you shouldn't do is eat all your protein in one go, because there have been many studies about how much protein you can digest at any one time, and you certainly are unable to digest and utilize 100 plus grams of protein in one sitting. It's far better to spread your protein needs out throughout the day, so your breakfast, your lunch, and your dinner, and this has the added benefit of having protein with every meal will give you energy stability. So as I mentioned earlier, protein with each meal will help stabilize the digestion and absorption of carbohydrates to provide energy, which means you can have more stable energy throughout the day. So little and often wins the day. Now for people that eat plant proteins only, so anyone who's on a vegetarian or vegan diet, it's important that you get all of the essential amino acids. And what that means is you just need to have variety in your protein sources, and you can spread that throughout the day as well. You don't have to have a complete protein in every meal. You can have incomplete proteins throughout the day, as long as throughout the day you get all of the essential amino acids in. So therefore it's important just to consider the foods that you're eating to make sure you do get all of those 9 essential amino acids across the 3 meals across the day. And then we also want to look at protein when it comes to exercise, and how do you eat protein to boost your exercise potential, recover well, and make sure that you do all the things that you need to get yourself firing for the next session. Okay, so there's a few things here. Muscle protein synthesis is simply referring to the repair and recovery of muscle tissue, and this is really important for post-exercise and making sure that you give your body the protein it needs to repair those muscles that you've just damaged and heavily strained during the exercise routine that you've done. So what we would generally advise is that in the 90 minutes after your session, you would have 20 to 40 grams of protein, and this has often been shown to boost muscle protein synthesis, help with muscle protein and repair. Equally, there is some research out there which will suggest that having some protein in the 2 to 4 hours before your session can also help boost MPS. So maybe worth considering having a protein portion in the 2 to 4 hours for your training session, something you'd have to experiment with, because people are able to tolerate different amounts of food at different time intervals ahead of their session. The other thing I would say about protein when it comes to sport and endurance sport and training in general is during the sessions themselves, you want to minimize the amount of protein that you take on, because protein is more difficult to digest. So if you have lots of protein during your session, if you're in an intense bike ride, a run or a swim or a weight session, then what you'll find is that digestibility will be more difficult. It might cause some GI upset. It might just make you a little bit uncomfortable when it comes to the training session itself. So I always advise avoiding protein throughout the training session, because that just makes it easier to get the training session done without any GI upset or any disturbances to the training session itself. And finally, how much protein do you need to actually eat? Well, I can't give you an exact number because everybody is unique. The general consensus is for someone who doesn't really exercise, for someone who's a bit more sedentary, it's 0.8 grams of protein for every kilogram of body weight. So all you do is you take that 0.8 and you times it by the number of kilograms of your body weight. That will give you a rough estimate as to how much protein you need on a day-to-day basis. For people that train, for endurance athletes, for bodybuilders, for high intensity trainers, the numbers will vary. It can go from 1.2 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight all the way up to plus grams of protein per kilogram of body weight. And safe upper limits in terms of what your body can tolerate, research has been done up to anything of 4 grams per kilogram of body weight, and that has been shown over a relatively short period of time to be safe without too many side effects. But you don't really want to be going to those levels unless you've got a specific purpose or if that's under supervision. So what I would generally suggest is 0.8 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight. And then if you're in a training session or if you're in a training routine or you've got some form of training goal, you're very active, anywhere between 1.2 grams to 2 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight should see you good for whatever it is that you're training for, and just to make sure that you get enough in to power you through your sessions and you can recover appropriately. And that's really it when it comes to protein. So I've covered what protein is, where it comes from, the importance of food when it comes to the essential amino acids. I've also covered processes inside the human body that are driven by protein, and we know that they're significant. And then I've covered the differences between plant and animal protein and how you can consume protein on a day-to-day basis, whether you're a bit more sedentary or all the way up to being really active and having heavy training loads. So this is what we do at Planted Nutrition. We are an energy optimization nutrition specialist. We help people just like you to use the power of nutrition to boost their energy levels and really hit their training, racing, and recovery potential. So if you've liked this video and you want to explore what we can do to help you, I'll put the link to my website below. I'd love to hear from you. Please connect, leave a comment, like, subscribe, so we can create more content for you. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video.